Hi, I'm Cat Cosplay and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be sort of a combination of tutorial and vlog. I am going to be strapping my Unit 2 medieval armor today, so I figured I'd take you along for how that all works, how that all goes together, show you some progress footage, watch me flail about as I try to actually get this thing together. This is one of the most common questions I get is how do I strap things, so I figured I'd just kind of show the process. If you have questions about the process, you can leave comments down below and hopefully I can clarify things or maybe do more specific tutorials in the future, but I'm just going to show you guys what I do, how I do it, how things go together, where I start, etc. So today is just going to be a lot of kind of making of footage, some voiceover, explaining some things, probably stop and, point some stuff out, what I'm doing. You can kind of see where I probably fail because I'm recording this before I start, and just the whole process. Okay, let's go ahead and start strapping up my armor. In terms of materials for strapping Unit 2, I have pleather and buckles to make either practical or fake belts. I have parachute clips. I have elastic in different colors. I have some nylon webbing strapping. And I have a literal butt ton of Velcro. So that's what I'm going to be using today to strap this stuff. I'm going to start with the chest and then go from there. I'm strapping the chest first, as this is sort of the base that everything else is dependent on. I'm going to need it strapped so that I can strap together the gorget, so that I can strap on the shoulders. I can estimate where the leg pieces, the hip pieces are going to go in relation to the chest, so this is the piece that needs to be strapped up first. It has seams along the sides and seams at the shoulders that are going to need to be strapped, and the way that I'm going to do this is with a lot of hot glue, some Velcro, and some leftover black cotton fabric. I'm going to be making sort of Velcro tabs to make attachments with, so the rest of this is me making those Velcro tabs and gluing those on. When I glue on attachments, I always use hot glue. That's my favorite glue for gluing on attachments. And to glue Velcro onto foam, I use a butt ton of glue and make sure the Velcro is pressed firmly down into the glue. And I will also always add glue around the edges of the Velcro. This prevents it from pulling up, and I really don't have a problem with Velcro pulling off of pieces as long as the pieces have glue around the edges. Something else you're going to notice me do a lot is whenever I'm gluing on strapping, I glue on redundant lines of glue around the edges of the strapping, and also always usually reinforce strapping with a crosswise piece across the strapping. And it doesn't really have to be that big or that much material, but just having a crosswise piece or perpendicular piece on strapping really helps it from pulling up and pulling off. Another thing you can do to help strapping stick is to lightly score the foam before you put the glue down. Lightly score it, heat it to open up those little tiny crevices, and that gives more surface area for the glue to stick to. I do this sometimes. I didn't do it on this build, but that does help glue and stuff stick better. Another thing that I always do is if there is fabric involved and Velcro, I will always try to sew the Velcro onto the fabric rather than glue it onto the fabric. Whenever I've had strapping fail, it's usually if I'm gluing Velcro onto fabric or strapping. That's usually where the fail point is. So I will always make sure to sew the Velcro onto the strapping if I can. If I've already attached something to the foam and then I can't really get it through my machine, then I'm gonna have to glue it. But I ended up gluing all the tab sections, so to speak, to the back of the armor. So the chest has a chest piece and a back piece that come together at the sides and the shoulders, so all the tabs are on the back. And this just makes placement of all of the strapping easier to keep track of because I know all the tabs are going on the back. I strapped up the chest, and then the next piece that I decided to strap was the gorget. This I decided to make some little faux buckles for as a little extra detail. So I used some faux leather, some brown pleather that I had left over from I don't know what project, but I had it left over. I have like an industrial strength amount of buckles and slide buckles that I got off Amazon a while ago. So I found a couple in the size that I needed and sewed a couple of straps, and this took me a little bit of time to complete, but worth. So I sewed those straps and then used some hot glue and Velcro to glue those on and attach those. So basically the little fake straps are glued on to the gorget on one side, and then the other side has a piece of Velcro so that it can separate between the two sides. Does that make sense? I don't know. The gorget itself attaches underneath with Velcro tabs the same way that the chest does. So these little straps are just completely redundant and decorative, and I was actually a little worried that I was going to end up covering them over with the shoulders and hiding all the little extra detail work that I did, but the shoulders don't actually hide them and they are visible, so bonus. In addition to the gorget being strapped to itself, I also wanted to strap the gorget or attach the gorget to the chest piece so that it wasn't floating weird or riding around or moving and doing weird things while I'm wearing the armor, because armor is hard enough to wear as it is. So there are 3 places on the chest and back total that the gorget velcros onto. So I had to attach a Velcro to the chest and to the gorget. Okay, so I have everybody strapped for the chest. Sides are strapped. So this is Velcroed onto the chest, 2 places in the front, so that it has a little bit of extra staying power. In the back here, we got some more Velcro. You can see the Velcro. The next step would be to strap up the shoulders, right? That would be the obvious thing to do. Well, I didn't want to do that because strapping shoulders is probably the hardest thing, so I procrastinated on that by strapping other stuff. Aside from the shoulders, I need to do the strapping on the upper arms, all the foot armor, the thigh pieces, so I had plenty of stuff to do other than the shoulders. The upper arms are 2 pieces that are going to be elasticed together so that they just slide on the arm. This may mean that they end up sliding down a little bit while I'm wearing the costume, but I didn't really want to attach them to the shoulders because then my mobility would be really limited. Shoulders really kind of limit mobility badly anyway, so the more mobility that I have, the better. So these are just basically elastic to the various sides. Does that make sense? I'm really not making sense with this voiceover, but hey, here you go. So the upper arms, once done, I'm moving on to the thigh and hip pieces. The lower legs actually already have zippers installed in them. I did another video on how to install zippers in armor. I will link that video in the cards above. I did that a while ago, actually. It goes to show you how long I've been working on this project for. And I'm not going to show you how I strapped the hand armor or attached the hand armor to the gloves, because that also was a separate video. I will link that in a card above as well. Both those videos, also link those in the description box below. So this is like the 4th video I've done on this costume. Anyway, to attach the thigh pieces and the hip plates, I'm going to make myself a belt. This is also going to serve as a place where I can attach my tabards. It's kind of just a big overall nice utility piece, and I'm going to make this out of pleather. Basically, I'm just going to take 2 pieces of pleather and meticulously fold in the sides so that I have a nice sturdy pleather belt. I'm going to add a buckle on one end and punch a hole through it, and that's a belt. I could have just used a belt that I already had, but I'm all kinds of extra when it comes to costumes, so making a belt didn't seem like it was all that difficult or hard or wouldn't take forever. It took forever. Yeah, this is my thought process when I make costumes. Yeah, go figure. I make it the hard way. Also, I'm still procrastinating on strapping the shoulders. One of the things that you're not going to see in this making of footage is me trying everything on and figuring out placement of the armor pieces and figuring out how long straps should be so that they sit where they need to sit properly. It's really hard to film that because it requires both hands to mark things out, and I'm literally just standing in front of a mirror, like awkwardly holding stuff onto myself and then trying to measure things and mark things. But know that this is an important step in strapping armor and fitting armor. You're going to need to try things on multiple times. You're going to need to figure out lengths of things on yourself. Don't skip that. You're going to want to try stuff on and do all of that to make sure that it fits right when you do it. Moving strapping and re-putting strapping, that's not the right word. What's the right word? But anyway, if you have to redo strapping, it's really annoying, and the way that I put this stuff on is very solid, so like if I had to take this off, which I've had to do on other costumes, it's really annoying, and I end up tearing the foam on the inside, so measure twice, cut once. Like with everything else, a lot of this strapping is heavily reinforced so that it doesn't fail, that this stuff is going to last. I make all my armor and all my strapping and attachment points to stand up to a lot of wear and tear. I don't mean to only wear this costume like once. I'm going to wear this a bunch. To conventions, if they are ever a thing again, to photo shoots, you know, maybe just around the house or on Halloween. Actually, this would probably be a good thing to wear on Halloween because I have a helmet and, you know, onboard mask. Anyway, the attachments all are basically the same thing. Slap on a whole bunch of glue, add a crosswise piece, slap on some more glue, and yeah, the hips attach around the back of the leg, and they have an attachment up to the belt so that they stay up. This is something that if you have thigh pieces and you don't have a piece that attaches up to a belt or to the chest piece or to something up above it, hip armor tends to fall. So having a belt to attach that to is kind of key. The hip plates, the big things that stick off my hips, only have one attachment point. They have a little loopy, and that is all it really needs. These things are big and awkward, and they kind of just float around, so I didn't want to like really strap them to myself, so I only put one attachment point on it. That's my decision. That's how I wanted to strap it. Someone else might do it differently, but that's how I did it. Okay, it's finally time to stop procrastinating on strapping the shoulders. Pro tip, if you're using nylon webbing strapping, you can heat the ends to stop it from fraying because nylon webbing strapping is plastic. Alright, time to figure out where these shoulders are going to sit. So I do this partially on my dress form and partially on myself. So before you see this footage of me moving stuff around on my dress form, I actually had put this all on and kind of figured out where I wanted the shoulders to sit. And then I'm using the dress form as a way to figure out where the straps are going to go and where they're going to sit. And I determined that the straps were going to both be on the back plate. One was going to go on the little tab and hang off the tab, and then the other one was going to be glued onto the back plate. So there's 2 points of attachment for each shoulder. The straps on the chest actually have the like prickly part of the Velcro, and then the inside the shoulder it has the soft Velcro piece, and they're pretty long so that if they can't quite be placed correctly, there's at least some amount of attachment. Strapping the shoulders on this actually wasn't that bad. I don't know why I procrastinated on it so badly, but anyway. Last was to put all the foot pieces together. Originally I was gonna make boot covers for this, but then I realized that the armor pretty much covers the shoe and I don't really need to make a boot cover, so I'm just gonna elastic all the pieces together and basically call it done. There are 4 pieces for each foot, and the reason I'm just using elastic to put them together is so that they have some ability to flex and move. Foot armor can get really messed up if it's foam because of all the flexion that goes on when you move around, so making it multiple pieces, making it be able to flex is really important. The foot armor basically is 3 pieces on the top of the foot, and then there's a heel piece, and that all attaches together with elastic at the sides, and then there's 2 pieces of elastic underneath, and those also velcro so that you can get the armor on and off the shoe. I don't like attaching armor directly onto shoes because then that pair of shoes is only for that costume and you can't reuse the shoes. And these are actually some of my favorite flats. They're really old and kind of worn, but I love them. And they're great for various costumes, and I use them for multiple costumes, so I didn't want to just like put them into shoe prison on one costume and one costume alone. And that's pretty much it for strapping up this costume. The shoes were the last thing that I needed to do. The strapping the foot armor was the last thing I needed to do. And once everything was strapped up, I did a test fit. I also figured out that I can't put this on by myself. I tried really, really hard to be able to put this on by myself, and I kind of can, but it's really hard to do, and so I need an assistant to be able to put this all on. That's the case for a lot of armors that I've made. I can't get into them myself. So if you are thinking about making armor for yourself, please take into account that a lot of these costumes are not for just a solo person to do and wear. You're going to need some sort of other person to help you put it on and help handle you for a photo shoot or a con or something. These things require help. So last bit of footage that I'm going to have in this video is me trying everything on and showing you the costume. It's not totally done. I have to sew a cape and some tabards, but I'm pretty happy with how it's looking and how it's coming out, and I'm really excited to do a photo shoot with it soon once everything else is done. I didn't film an outro for this, so I'm just going to say if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and bell notification so you can, actually see videos that I put out. And I hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next video. Here is me with all of the armor on in all its glory.